Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive for another focused look at the most important current events you need to know to ace that UPSC exam. It is April 3rd, 2025, and this is part one. You know the drill by now. We've sifted through all the news and chatter to bring you only the most essential insights, and this time around we are aiming to streamline things even further. So we won't be repeating any topics we've already covered recently. Think of it as a built-in opportunity to test your recall. And as always, if you find our deep dives valuable, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated. All right, let's jump right in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting mix today. We've got everything from environmental concerns to a new tech buzzword, even touching upon a bit of history and a health update. It's all connected in the grand scheme of the UPSC syllabus.
Exactly. So let's start with some news out of Uttarakhand. Naini Lake, that iconic freshwater lake, is facing a bit of a crisis. Its water level has dropped to a 5-year low, just 4.7 feet. Now, I know what you might be thinking, it's just a lake. But for UPSC aspirants, there's a lot more to unpack here. We're talking about a lake of tectonic origin, nestled right in Nainital, and yes, discovered by the British in the early 1800s. But guess what? It's actually mentioned in the Skanda Purana as the Tririshi Sarovar. History, geography, mythology, it's all intertwined, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
And speaking of geography, imagine this. A crescent-shaped lake, almost like a kidney, about 2 miles in circumference. The depths vary, going from 6 meters all the way down to 28 meters. The main outflow point is at the southeastern end, and it's fed primarily by the Balianala stream and a network of 26 major drains. It's part of a larger network of lakes in the Kuman Hills. You've got Saddle Lake, Pimta Lake, and Nakuchiata Lake, all interconnected.
It's like a whole ecosystem, right? And it's not just about the environment either. What caught my eye was the cultural aspect. You've got Melatal at the north end and Talatal at the south, connected by a bridge, a rather famous bridge featuring Gandhi's statue. But here's the trivia that I love. It's believed to be the only post office on a lake bridge in the world.
Oh, I can definitely see that popping up in a UPSC question somewhere. And let's not forget the legend behind the name Naini. It comes from Nain, meaning eyes, and is believed to be the spot where the eyes of goddess Sati fell. So it's a place steeped in mythology and spirituality, adding another dimension to its importance.
All right, let's switch gears now to the world of tech. Always a hot topic, right? Ever heard of vibe coding? It's the latest buzzword making waves in Silicon Valley, apparently coined by Andrej Karpathy, one of the co-founders of OpenAI. So think about this. You describe an app you want, just talk to the AI, and it tries to generate the entire code base for you. This goes way beyond AI-assisted coding. This is AI potentially taking the wheel and doing the coding itself based on your vibes, so to speak. Sounds pretty sci-fi, doesn't it?
It really does. And for UPSO prep, this is about understanding how technology is evolving and its potential societal impact. Now, the core technology behind this vibe coding are large language models, or LLMs, like ChatGPT, which you've probably heard of. What's exciting is that it could potentially open up app development to anyone with an idea. You wouldn't need years of coding experience. Just express your vision and let the AI try to translate that into code. Imagine the possibilities.
I know, it sounds amazing. But of course, every coin has two sides. The potential downsides here are pretty huge too. Think about it. Someone with no coding experience could end up creating an app riddled with security holes, not to mention the efficiency and maintainability issues. The code might be buggy, slow, expensive to run, and a hacker's dream.
Absolutely. That's where the role of human expertise really comes in. A seasoned developer, a good project manager, they don't just write code. They think about security, performance, scalability, maintainability, all these things that an AI might miss, at least for now. It's going to be fascinating to watch how this vibe coding thing plays out and what it means for the future of software development.
Let's shift our focus now to something a bit more grounded, shall we say.
Yeah.
The Indian Army's White Tiger Division recently conducted a live-fire exercise with the 9K-33 Osa-AK Missile System. It's a reminder that India is constantly updating and testing its defense capabilities.
This particular system is quite interesting. It's Russian-built, highly mobile, and designed for low-altitude, short-range air defense. It's actually been around for a while, developed in the 1960s and deployed by the Soviet Union in 1972. NATO calls it the SA-8 Gecko. But here's the thing, it's still very much relevant in modern warfare. It's a testament to its effectiveness and adaptability.
And it's a pretty impressive piece of machinery, too, isn't it? Picture this. It's all mounted on a single teller vehicle that stands for Transporter, Erector, Launcher, and Radar, which means it can operate independently. It's got its own radar to detect threats, launch missiles, the whole package. We're talking about a vehicle around 9.1 meters long, almost 3 meters wide, and can weigh up to 18 tons. It carries a crew of up to 5 and is even protected against NBC threats, nuclear, biological, and chemical.
Yet, the 9K-323 Osa-AK is a powerful system for its size. It's armed with 6 ready-to-fire missiles and has a maximum engagement range of 12 kilometers. Plus, it's highly mobile, can be deployed quickly, and is even amphibious, meaning it can operate on both land and water. It's got an operational range of about 500 kilometers on the road, so it can cover a lot of ground, literally.
Speaking of covering a lot of ground, let's talk about the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, the CAG. They recently released a report on vehicular air pollution in Delhi, and it's stirred up some serious debate. This is all about accountability, how effectively the government is monitoring air quality and curbing emissions. It's a hot topic for UPSC, touching upon both governance and environmental issues.
And the CAG is a key player in all of this. They are the head of the Indian Audit and Accounts Department, responsible for auditing all government expenditures at both the central and state levels. Their job is to ensure financial accountability and make sure public money is being spent properly. Article 148 of the Indian Constitution lays out their powers and responsibilities, and they're considered a pillar of Indian democracy right alongside the Supreme Court, Election Commission, and of course the UPSC itself.
It's all about checks and balances, right? You need an independent body to hold the government accountable. The CAG's powers are pretty extensive. They don't just look at the numbers. They can also conduct what are called propriety audits to see if expenditures have been wasteful or not. And their reports go directly to the president or the governors, who then present them to the parliament or state assemblies. So it's all out in the open for public scrutiny.
And the appointment process is equally important. The CAG is appointed by the president for a term of 6 years, or until they reach the age of 65, and their removal is as difficult as removing a Supreme Court judge, requiring a special majority in Parliament. This ensures their independence from political influence. They're also not eligible for any further government employment after their term, and their salary is equivalent to a Supreme Court judge, charged directly to the Consolidated Fund of India, meaning it's not subject to annual budgetary votes. This further safeguards their autonomy.
It's also interesting to note the difference between our CAG and the one in the UK. In the UK, the CAG not only audits, but also controls disbursements of funds to a certain extent. Our CAG doesn't have that power. It's purely an auditing role here. And speaking of global roles, did you know that India's CAG currently holds audit responsibilities with organizations like the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization? It shows that India is playing an increasingly prominent role in global governance.
Now, for a quick jump into the world of finance, the Supreme Court recently directed MP Mahwa Moitra to take her concerns about transparency in foreign portfolio investments, or FPIs, and alternative investment funds, or AIFs, to SEBI, the Securities and Exchange Board of India. This touches upon some key regulations and potential political sensitivities, so definitely something to keep an eye on.
For anyone needing a refresher, FPIs are basically investments by foreign entities in a country's financial assets, like stocks and bonds, without them trying to take control of the companies they invest in. It's different from FDI, foreign direct investment, which is more about long-term strategic investment with management control. Think of it this way. FPI is like buying a few shares in a company, while FDI is like setting up a factory in India.
Here are some key things to remember about FPIs. They are often passive investments, driven by the hope of making a profit from price appreciation in the short term. They contribute to market liquidity, but can also make the market more volatile because FPIs can move their money quickly in and out of a country. In India, a foreign investor holding up to 10% of a company's shares is usually classified as an FPI. Beyond that, it gets categorized as FDI and comes under different regulations.
And remember, in India, all FPIs are regulated by SEBI, that's the Securities and Exchange Board of India, to make sure everything is above board and investors are protected.
Right. And another term you might come across related to FPIs is FII, Foreign Institutional Investor. These are basically institutions like mutual funds, pension funds, insurance companies, and hedge funds that invest in foreign markets. So all FIIs are now considered FPIs under the current regulations, but not all FPIs are necessarily FIIs. It's a bit nuanced.
Yeah, the terminology can get a little tricky. But for the UPSC exam, it's important to understand the broad concepts and the key differences between things like FPI and FDI.
Now let's quickly talk about AIFs, Alternative Investment Funds. These are essentially funds that pool money from investors and invest it in a variety of assets, but not the typical stocks and bonds you see in regular mutual funds. They often invest in things like real estate, private equity, hedge funds, and even commodities. In India, they are regulated by SEBI under the SEBI Alternative Investment Funds Regulations, 2012. They typically cater to high net worth individuals and institutional investors because the minimum investment amounts are much higher than in regular mutual funds.
And just for clarity, SEBI categorizes them into three types. Category AIFs invest in sectors the government considers important for the economy, like venture capital, infrastructure, social ventures, things like that. Category 2 is a mixed bag. They can invest in a wider range of assets, but can't use leverage or borrowed money to amplify their gains beyond a certain limit. And Category 3 AIFs are the high-risk, high-reward players. They can use leverage, employ complex trading strategies, and invest in things like hedge funds. So it's good to know the basic differences between these categories.
Shifting gears to legal news, the Rajya Sabha has recently passed the Protection of Interests in Aircraft Objects Bill 2025. Now, this might sound very specific, but it's actually quite important in the context of international trade and aviation.
Right. It's about bringing Indian law in line with a couple of key international conventions. The Cape Town Convention on International Interests in Mobile Equipment from 2001 and its protocol that specifically deals with aircraft equipment. India signed on to these agreements way back in 2008, but now we're finally getting around to implementing them, and for good reason. These conventions are all about creating a standardized global system for securing rights and interests in aircraft, helicopters, engines, all that expensive aviation equipment. It helps to protect the interests of creditors and lessors, and in turn makes the whole aviation financing and leasing business much smoother and more secure.
Exactly. By passing this bill, India is sending a clear signal that it's serious about attracting more investment in its aviation sector. And the bill itself has some key provisions worth noting. For example, it designates the DGCA, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, as the central registry authority in India for registering and deregistering aircraft objects under these international conventions. And it sets a clear time frame for the recovery of aircraft and related assets in case of default. So lessors have more certainty now, and that makes India a more attractive place to do business.
It's about building trust and confidence in the system, and this bill is a step in the right direction. Now let's move on to something a little more adventurous. The INSV Tarini, an Indian naval sailing vessel, has just arrived in Cape Town, South Africa. It's the fourth and final stop in their second global circumnavigation expedition called Navika Sagar Parikrama II.
This is really showcasing India's growing maritime capabilities. The INSV Tarini is a 56-foot sailing vessel built in India, commissioned in 2017 as part of the Make in India initiative. It's equipped with state-of-the-art navigation and communication systems and is specifically designed for long-distance sailing in challenging conditions.
And the name Tarini itself has a beautiful meaning. It's derived from the Tara Tarini hill shrine in Odisha, a place of worship for sailors. In Sanskrit, it means both boat and savior, which is quite fitting considering its mission.
Absolutely. This second global circumnavigation, which began in October 2024, is no small feat. They've already covered around 23,400 nautical miles across 3 oceans and 3 major capes, with stops in Fremantle, Australia, Littleton, New Zealand, and Port Stanley in the Falkland Islands before reaching Cape Town.
It's scheduled to return to Goa in May 2025, completing its circumnavigation. And it's worth remembering the first Navika Sagar Parikrama in 2017-18, which was also undertaken by the INSV Tarini with an all-woman crew. That was a historic achievement, highlighting the important role women are playing in the Indian Navy.
For those curious about the ship's design, it's based on the Dutch Tonga 56, adapted and built in India, demonstrating our shipbuilding capabilities.
Now, let's turn our attention to international relations. India and Chile are in talks to sign a comprehensive trade agreement. This could have significant implications for both economies.
For those who need a quick geography recap, Chile is located in South America. It's a long, narrow country running along the western coast, bordered by Peru, Bolivia, and Argentina to the east, and the Pacific Ocean to the west. It's home to the Andes Mountains, the Atacama Desert, which is one of the driest deserts on Earth, and the Loa River, its longest river. It's also known for its significant copper reserves, making it the world's largest producer of this essential metal. And it's part of the lithium triangle with substantial lithium reserves, a key component in batteries for electric vehicles. Its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire makes it prone to earthquakes and volcanic activity. Its highest peak, Ojos del Salado, is actually an active stratovolcano.
Politically, Chile is a unitary presidential republic with a unique history shaped by European and indigenous influences. It was a Spanish colony for centuries and gained independence in 1818. Its capital is Santiago, and Spanish is the official language. Interestingly, Chile is also known as the gateway to Antarctica due to its proximity to the continent.
And speaking of Antarctica, India and Chile recently signed a letter of intent to collaborate on research and exploration in Antarctica. This is in line with India's growing interest in polar science. Currently, the two countries have a preferential trade agreement, or PTA, in place, focusing on trade in minerals, agriculture, and industrial goods. A comprehensive trade agreement would further strengthen economic ties.
Switching gears now to a fascinating discovery in Bengaluru. Some rare copper plates from the early 15th century, dating back to the reign of Devaraya of the Sangama Dynasty, have been unearthed, shedding new light on the Vijayanagara Empire.
These copper plates are like time capsules from the past. They are inscribed in both Sanskrit and Kannada using the Nagari script and were issued during Devaraya Surv's coronation in 1406 CE. They contain valuable historical information, including a detailed genealogy of the Sangama Dynasty, tracing their lineage back to legendary figures like Chandra, Yadu, and Sangama himself.
One interesting detail is the royal seal on the plates. It depicts Vamana, an avatar of Vishnu, which is unusual because the Vijayanagara dynasty typically used Varaha, the boar avatar, as their royal insignia. It's a small detail, but could lead to interesting historical interpretations.
And for UPSC aspirants, it's important to be familiar with the key rulers of the Sangama Dynasty. It was the founding dynasty of the Vijayanagara Empire, which lasted from 1336 to 1485 AD. Harihar I and Bukaraya I were the founders, and they laid the foundation for this powerful empire. They strengthened the administration, expanded the territory, and built a strong military.
Then you had rulers like Harihara II, who expanded the kingdom further, and Devaraya Sirstith, who's known for his military campaigns and modernization of the army. He even inducted Muslims into the army, which was a first for Vijayanagara kings.
Devaraya II is considered the greatest ruler of the Sangama dynasty. He's renowned for his military achievements and his patronage of art and literature. During his reign, the Vijayanagara Empire reached its peak in terms of power and prosperity, so understanding this dynasty is key to understanding the history of South India.
Finally, let's end with a health update. Geo Palmer, a premier medical institute, has launched a support group for people with inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. This highlights the growing awareness of this chronic condition.
IBD is actually an umbrella term for conditions that cause inflammation of the digestive tract. The two most common types are ulcerative colitis, which affects the colon and rectum, and Crohn's disease, which can affect any part of the digestive tract.
Symptoms can include abdominal pain, diarrhea, rectal bleeding, fatigue, and weight loss. It's a chronic condition with no known cure, but treatments are available to manage the symptoms and improve quality of life.
The exact cause of IBD is still unknown, but research suggests it could be a combination of genetic predisposition and an overactive immune response triggered by environmental factors.
So that wraps up our deep dive for April 3rd, 2025, Part 1. We've covered a lot of ground, literally and figuratively, from environmental concerns to cutting-edge tech, defense updates, and even ancient history. It's all connected, and it's all relevant for your UPSC exam.
And as you go through your preparation, think about how these seemingly disparate topics intersect. How does technology impact the environment? How does history inform our understanding of international relations? Making these connections is crucial for developing a holistic understanding of the world around us.
If you found this deep dive helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel for more targeted insights for your UPSC journey. We'll be back soon with Part 2, so stay tuned.